Hello guys, today we're going to talk about energy on Earth, mainly two different types of energies. Those energies can be classified as renewable and fossil fuels. And energy is defined as the capacity of a physical system to perform work. We're basically just going to talk about how fossil fuels, how they're not sustainable, how renewables are sustainable. I mean, they both come with their pros and cons, but ultimately we want to switch to a renewable future for the better of our planet. We're going to talk about how we should transition from fossil fuels to renewables. I know it's not going to be easy. It's going to take a lot of work, but ultimately it's going to have to be done. It's a really pressing matter right now. It's only a matter of time before stuff gets worse. And we're going to talk about the impact. All right, guys, let's talk about fossil fuels. So fossil fuels are basically decomposing animals and plants that are buried underground, a bunch of pressure on them, and the only way we can get them out is mining, drilling, which is really not good for the environment, for health in general. And according to the IPCC, fossil fuels have already reached their peak efficiency, which means that financially, environmentally, this is the safest, this is the best it's going to get. This is the most bang for our buck we're going to get. And even though big gas companies, big petrol companies, they don't want to talk about this and they deny it. Again, IPCC found that fossil fuels are in fact the leading cause of global warming, which is no surprise. So the different types of fossil fuels, we're going to do oil, coal, and natural gas. We're going to start off with oil. So the thing about oil is it accounts for 30% of the world's carbon dioxide emission, which is crazy. And then not to mention all the oil spills, big disasters. One of the reasons we're afraid to go nuclear is because of the potential it has for disaster. I mean, it's not really that high, but when it does happen, it gets really bad. Same with oil, Deepwater Horizon, you already know. Some countries are trying to completely limit oil. I mean, you can't really phase out because it's like one of the only things we got right now. But there's some countries that are banning the production of gas-powered vehicles by 2030. So after 2030, like Ford, GM, Chevy, they're not going to be allowed to make any vehicles gas-powered, which is cool. We're trending in the right direction. I feel like transportation is one of the biggest reasons of pollution. So if we could phase out of that oil, that's going to be a huge, huge plus. Now moving on to coal. Coal, arguably the dirtiest of them all. It accounts for 1/3. One half of the world's total carbon dioxide emission, which is more than oil. And it's basically obsolete because Carbon Tracker predicts that 70% of coal-based power is going to become unprofitable by 2040. That's not even that long. I mean, Germany is completely planning to phase out of coal. They're doing it in a really cool way. I'm going to talk about it later, but yeah, that's a good thing because it's the worst. I think it accounts for half a centigrade or Celsius increase in the average temperature of the Earth, which is crazy. It's much more than any other one. So it's actually the leading cause of the global warming, the warm part of the warming. And then natural gas. I mean, there's not really much to say about natural gas. It's the fracking, a bunch of jobs in the Midwest. Supposedly it's the cleanest energy, but compared to renewables, it's like coal. It's horrible, but it's probably the best out of the fossil fuels, if I had to say so myself. But yeah, we really need to bring it down a couple notches, maybe all notches on fossil fuels. The IPCC warns that the fossil fuel emissions must be halved in 11 years to keep global warming at a minimum. If it goes past that threshold, it could be really catastrophic. And right now we're on pace to double that number. So something needs to be done. We're working on it. We need to do it fast, man. All right, now on to renewables. Renewables just means that when we take them out from the earth, we can replenish them. So that means that they're replaceable, unlike fossil fuels, which we can't. The main renewable sources I'm going to be talking about today is wind, solar, geothermal, hydropower, biomass. Let's talk about solar first because this is by far the most popular. Everybody wants to ride the solar wave, and for a good reason. It's predicted that it's going to account for 60% of growth So like 60% of all renewables is going to be solar power, which is crazy. As a matter of fact, residential solar is expected to triple from 2018 to 2024, 6 years, and it's already going to triple. This is probably mainly due to the cheaper cost of producing solar because we're getting more innovative, so that helped. Which is interesting though is that China is actually going to be the main producer of solar power. They're going to be the main user. They plan to get 62% of their energy from renewables by 2050, which is great because China's like definitely the biggest manufacturer. They're the ones that use the most energy, way more than everybody else. So if China's on board, then that's so great. The US also plans to have half of their power come from solar by 2050, which is really ambitious, but I think it can be done. All politics aside, of course, and also Europe as well. They're planning to use much more renewables, especially solar. Right now they're only using 18% of their energy for renewables, but like I said, they're planning to use much more. And the great thing about solar is that actually every year the price is trending downward. So like as we get better with technology, it's just going to be easier and easier to make solar panels, and it's just going to make it more affordable. It's going to make it easier, and it's by far the most accessible renewable energy, so I could see why it's the most popular too. However, there is right now like some potential negative consequences with solar in the future. The fabrication, the production of solar requires like harmful chemicals to be released into the sky. I believe sodium hydroxide and hydrofluoric acid, those are like two, and it just creates a bunch of waste, and the process needs a lot of water and a lot of energy. But like I said, with innovation, with technology, those prices will go down. The materials are going to be safer. We're going to have regulations like based on how to throw away all the trash. So I mean, with right now, it's not as the pros outweigh the cons. Is basically what I'm saying. But we do have some stuff to fix. All right, now let's move on to wind, which is by far the most efficient one of them all, which means that the energy that's produced from wind is most of it. It's more it's going towards the main goal, so it's not expending. There's not wasting as much energy as the other ones. Is what I'm trying to say. And like I said, the U.S., China, Europe, those are like the three main ones that are on board with renewables. The three main ones, so the three biggest ones. So those are the three main ones. Those are all planning to jack up their wind turbines, which is great. I think wind it is the most efficient, but I mean, it does have to be in windy places to work better, to be more efficient. That's why they're putting like offshore. They're putting them in the ocean where it's more windy. The only problem I could see with that is having to transport that energy like really far. But besides that, I think it's great. Now on to geothermal. You guys probably have never heard of it before. It's one of the newer ones. It's when you're pumping water from the ground and you heat it to such high temperatures that it releases steam. The steam then powers a turbine, and then it just generates electricity from there. It's actually one of the fastest. It's going to be one of the fastest growing renewables in the next 5 years. It's going to increase 30% more than almost all the rest, except for maybe solar and wind. It's actually the U.S. is planning to have 10% of its electricity come from geothermal, which is kind of cool because it's really new on the scene, and the fun things that they can do with it. I've seen like videos on it. The things that we could do with geothermal, it could be way bigger in the future. But right now, it's going at a really fast rate as well, but not as much as it could be in my opinion. And then there's biomass, which is honestly right now it's my least favorite form of energy, even though in the future I think there's some potential, like I'm talking maybe like hundreds of years in the future with algae. But right now, the way it's used in most of the world is burning wood. That's like more than 90% of biomass right now. And burning wood actually can release more CO2 than some fossil fuels. So right now, I believe we got a lot of work to do. We should focus on the other ones, even though just like geothermal, I think biomass can even exceed geothermal. I think we might be onto something with biomass, especially with the algae. That would be super cool to watch it, and its ceiling is immeasurably high compared to the rest. And right here I'm just showing you a little chart on the electricity that's currently being used, the energy. So 74%, around 74 is non-renewable, so like fossil fuels, all that stuff like that. 26% is renewable. Of course, that's expected to grow much more in the future. This is just 2018. And it actually surprised me doing this. 15.8% is hydropower. It's the most
used in the world by far, and it's expected to keep that title for like another 50 years or so. And they're led by countries like China and Brazil. I mean, anything that China has is going to lead, man. It's crazy. Um, but lately they've been slowing down just because due to the price and the cost, but and the space. I just wanted to show you how the breakdown right now. So 5.5% wind, 2.4% solar, 2.2% bio. I mean, this one's growing at the fastest rate, so I expect 2.4 solar to grow and at least 5%.
All right, so now we're going to talk about sustainability. Sustainability means energy that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of the future generations to meet their own needs. Like it's got to be good enough for both of us. It needs to be affordable, accessible, replenishable, safe for the environment, and available in the long term. That's the most important part. And when it comes to sustainable, nothing is more sustainable than solar. That's why I'm going to go off with solar. It emits, so the sun is crazy. The sun emits more energy in 90 minutes than the earth can make in 1 year. So talk about sustainable. It's going to burn for like billions of years, so we don't even got to worry about that part. And not to mention, sustainable also means price. As a matter of fact, wind and solar are actually cheaper than fossil fuels since 2018. All the naysayers, they could be quiet because I think they say fossil fuels are cheaper. There's no way. Solar will actually become 35% cheaper by 2024. Like I said, those numbers they keep trending down. The thing about solar is that it doesn't require like specific locations because the sun's not intermittent. Like even the visible light that hits it, it can be stored in the photovoltaics. And as a matter of fact, in 77, the price of photovoltaics was $77. Now it's only 50 cents, which it's trending way more sustainable. Oh, not to mention that wind and solar projects actually they can operate for decades, which is better than any other generation source, and they can be developed way faster. So the technology is just there to make it way sustainable. The other ones like biomass, geothermal, hydropower, those are not even close to sustainable as solar and wind. But I mean, I guess that's why solar and wind are the most powerful right now. All right, right now I'm going to go through the transition process. So how do we go from fossil fuels to renewables quickly? And the main problems right now is grid integration, it's money, it's the social like acceptance. There's a lot of challenges, especially logistics that we need to work on, but we are like on a time clock right now, so I guess we have to do this. The number one thing is going to be infrastructure, especially in the United States. The I think Princeton University was they released a study that most of the solar and wind turbines have to be in the Midwest, and most of the people don't live in the Midwest. So it's going to be crazy. It's going to be difficult trying to get the energy from the Midwest out. So I believe we're going to have to focus a lot on infrastructure, especially the transmission lines. That's why I have this picture of the transmission lines. We're going to need way more of those. I think you can't decarbonize without transmission line. I think that's the bottom line. If we can mainly get our the solar and wind resources from the Midwest and we don't live there, we have to invest. There's no other way. And for all the people saying, what about the people losing their jobs in natural gas and coal? I know, I just like what I said before, I said I would come back. Germany invested $40 billion in coal cities to retrain the workers and keep local economies strong. So I thought that was really cool. I mean, retraining that's definitely a viable option. We could retrain the natural gas and coal workers to solar and wind. I think those are the two fastest growing jobs right now in the world over the next 10 years. I think in order to fully transition, we need to innovate. We need to spend a lot of money on technology, a lot of money on infrastructure, a lot of money on retraining, and I think we do have the money to do it. All right, now lastly, I'm going to talk about the impact and my outlook on renewables. The impact is that renewables are going to tackle greenhouse gases. It's going to reduce air pollution. It's going to help the ozone. It's going to stop climate change, which is ultimately what we want. In the financial area, it's said that clean jobs are going to outnumber fossil fuel jobs from 3 to 1. So there's way more job opportunities. I feel like everybody should get on board, politics aside. I don't know if we're fully ready to transition to fossil fuels. I don't think personally they're super sustainable right now, but definitely trending in the right direction. I feel like in order to reach that, we need to heavily invest in innovation, invest in research. We need to do all that in order to even think about reducing greenhouse emissions. But I'm also a believer that we are on a time clock right now and we need to do something now. I believe we need to set up something renewable to solve current emissions, then start optimizing, like start something now, then start figuring it out. I mean, it's not going to be perfect. I mean, nothing's perfect, but we need to work on being less harmful, not about being perfect right now. And yeah, that concludes my presentation. Thank you so much.